anything up as they come in. But yeah, welcome in. What's up, everyone? We're back for another Better Calls All Yaps. I'm here with Jack Dish. How we doing today?
What's going on? Happy Tuesday.
Yeah, happy
Taco
Tuesday
Tuesday.
indeed. I'm Taco Tuesday
Taco Tuesday. Craving
as
some Mexican
LeBron.
food. And
Yeah,
LeBron. Yeah.
yeah, as LeBron says, we're both from the Beantown area, or I don't know if you're from there originally, but at least living there now. So, yeah, the sports
Yeah,
definitely
yeah.
definitely runs through this.
We're
But
we're some assholes here. So
exactly, just a couple of assholes sitting down together, chatting tokens. One of the coolest things I think is I have a lot of things that I think are interesting about what you built, Clanker, and also Farcaster as a whole in the ecosystem there. But let's start with a little bit of an intro. Who is Jack? Who is Dish? And yeah, why don't you share with us?
yeah, what's going on? Yeah, my name is Jack Dishman. Local to the Boston area. Spent some time in the Bay Area. Um, I have I got into kind of like crypto during like the GameStop era, like Nokia, when those stocks were being like
That's
halted.
crazy because that's
Yeah,
also how I got onboarded. It
yeah,
just took a
yeah, yeah,
year or two. The
yeah.
GameStop
No,
NFT marketplace was the first. That
oh,
wallet and
really?
that marketplace were the first two things
No
I purchased,
way. I
bro.
never used it. I never used that
Well,
marketplace. So,
it got deprecated. I just bought
dude,
one NFT because for a
I
game, right?
okay. Oh yeah,
But
because dude, that's like the real use cases that I think crypto is like incredible
TCGs,
for.
bro.
Yeah.
I'm a trading card game person through and through. That's like what got me super excited. I tried Gods Unchained. I tried a couple of the other ones out there in the crypto space. But like my goal and one of the things I want to do on a separate side note is like I want to help create music cards for our artists within our org where like we can leverage not only creating like the lore of a trading card but having it be tied to an actual person as opposed to just
Hmm.
fantasy characters. And I think that could be really valuable, kind of like sports cards, but being able to leverage Web3 technology of like, okay, anytime someone buys this card or potentially plays it in the future, you can send that royalty to all of the artists that are on that song. Like, and
Yep. Yep.
it's really cool. But
Yeah, totally. I mean, I there was like some article I wrote like this was way before Clanker, but like I wrote some articles. There was a Starbucks campaign that was giving away it was like on-chain loyalty points, I think.
yeah,
Or no,
I
maybe it
know
was NFT,
exactly what you're talking
the
about because
Odyssey campaign. That
Candy
was
Toy Box was super involved with Odyssey
yeah,
campaigns. So she was always
yeah,
telling me stuff about
really.
it.
That's
Yeah,
cool. And then there was the Ticketmaster thing that they were giving away like it wasn't Top Shot. It was like something a little bit different. It was like digital collectibles of like your tickets, right? Where like some people can like they kind of can hang their, maybe it's like a game series, whatever, like series 7 of, NBA finals, like that ticket. Those were cool, like cool collectibles there. But it was completely like I noticed that it was so like you couldn't export your keys. There was no wallet. It was all email, and that was all deprecated. So all that stuff was just like gone now to the abyss. So that was a total bummer. But yeah, I got into it when like on what were we doing? Oh, it was yeah, like the GameStop on Robinhood was
Reddit.
halted. I was
Yeah.
like, all right, like there has to be a different way. Around the same time, I think Bitcoin was pumping, and I was like, well, there has to be some, other way or like, some better way to do it. That's what kind of got me interested into kind of the crypto realm, blockchain specifically.
I love that.
Then, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then I was also like banned from Facebook for like an entire,
I love that.
so I
Yeah,
couldn't
so
log
you
into
understood the
Spotify.
concept
Yeah.
of like needing non-censorable like
Mhm.
tools, right?
Yeah, yeah. If you can't log into like a traditional platform because some servers down or you get banned or something like this, I was just banned for like a blip in the system, like temporarily. Um, but like that just goes to show that like the interoperability is truly powerful. And yeah, that was kind of my first couple of things, and did a couple other like worked for a couple different startups and the areas, but none of them really caught on. Well, like I wasn't
What were
running
you
them.
doing at them? Out of curiosity.
I was building the first one was a decentralized social media. It was actually like kind of a rival to like Mirror Paragraph. It was pre-Paragraph, but like primarily Farcaster. Um, there was like DSO around that time. It was called Blockchain by Capsule Social. I moved to Paris for that, which was fun for a couple months. And then I was building certificates of authenticity for jewelry, like primarily for like engagement rings. But it didn't really catch on. That was kind of like after like the bubble popped in
Yeah,
NFTs.
I got.
Um, yeah, and then we were building like an AI chatbot for like home repair services, which kind of led to kind of like using that like what I kind of picked up, kind of like move that over to Clanker eventually. Um, and what was it? Oh, then I worked for like a token sales and distribution platform. But what it was crazy, like the amount of like volume we did with Clanker, we like lapped that other company in like a couple like weeks. It was pretty
That's
crazy. That
crazy.
was yeah, that was fun. Um,
Yeah, you're like,
yeah,
yeah. This makes more sense to do. Go,
yeah.
go on my own. But yeah, tell us that story of that transition into Clanker. Like, what started that seed of a thought, working at all of these Web3 companies and startups in different capacities, getting experience in blockchain, right? Like that early must have been great. Like, where did you start to think like something like Clanker was needed?
Well, I quit my job like that summer to just try and build something. A lot of like these side projects. So I was like, if I'm not going to do it now, when am I going to do it? I was building like an on-chain boat registry, like when Base just came out. A variety of other like things that just like kind of flopped. And then we were at like a forecaster meetup in Boston, and that's where I met Proxy. And we were like, hey, like took him out of my boat. We're like, let's build something. And yeah, it was pretty simple. Like the V0 of Clanker is like super simple. Like we didn't even have a front end. But built that in like, a couple days. And he's got away with like he's a super poster, like taught me a lot about posting, how important it is. But yeah, that literally as soon as we launched, it was a hit, and the rest is really history.
Hell
It's
yeah.
crazy
No,
though.
I
Like
love that. That's
I
nuts.
think like one thing on that is just like I think it's a lot of like luck, like the hard work kind of leading up to it. But all it takes is like that like timing, luck, and like these are things that you like usually can't control. Like that like whatever percent is
Yeah.
just like totally just like depending on like the weather. In this case it was the election, right? Like there was just like rising tides, like I think we dropped it like right after the election or something. And so like that was kind of it. And I think ever since then we've just been like trying to like scale, make sure things are working, and yeah, like fortunately like we've had a really great experience, and especially with like all these like DeFi hacks and things, like the Clinker stuff is, it's good. It's like very fortunate that things have relatively been chill.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting because it's like that it's all those unknown variables that you can't control, and I think you said it really well there. It's just like you can do all the hard work, but then all it takes is that spark, right? And
Mhm.
it's cool to hear that that kind of timing for you was around that election. So then the start was very quick, very fast. Where did you said V0 was very simple. Where did you kind of start doing that leveling up from V0 to one to to the four V4 you guys have today?
Yeah, V0 when we launched, like it actually wasn't ready. Like all like these tokens, like the LP locker was like they were gonna unlock, so we had to do like a full migration, which was like probably like the most stressful thing I've ever had to do in my life. To like migrate all of these like on they were unlocking, and once they unlocked, we had to move them all to like a LP locker. Um, And then like yeah, V1, V2, we were kind of making these smaller iterations of, they were all permissioned too. Like you couldn't call the contract yourself. You had to launch it through the bot. Um, so I think that helped a lot with like kind of just like distribution, right? Like not the bot would kind of like go down, right? Like we would just like turn it off for the night if like just to like make, I don't even know, we couldn't keep up with the amount of requests. Um, it wasn't until like V3.1 when we started to introduce like vaulting, or like the creator supply. You could vault like 30%. Um, I think that unlocked like the project meta, right? Where you could kind of build a project around it, have like some of that. I think like kind of looking back, like those OG tokens where there was just like all of it to the LP position were the most fun, because then you don't have to worry about like the devs rugging. Like you earned those tokens off the fees. So yeah, I think like V3 won, and then V4 I think is like basically like we added like all of the things that you'd want in like a token launcher and the token deployment. So yeah, that's kind of where we are now. And like we've tried to do the pre-sale stuff, but that wasn't a huge hit. It was just like, the thing that I've learned is like the more you add complexities to it, the less it kind of like it just gets too complicated, right? Like so yeah, that's kind of where we're at now, or kind of like what's led up to it.
Yeah, that's really interesting. That like keeping it simple part of it. I think a lot of us in crypto and blockchain have a challenge with that, where it's like, okay, like you build an MVP or you build a usable product, but now how do you actually get people to then use that, right? And like you said, your V0 is very simple. That's how you got to that point of being able to have all that demand. So it's super interesting to hear the evolution of your token launcher here on, was it on base originally?
Yeah, all
Okay.
on base.
So yeah, so it's just interesting to hear like your version of how you've built this, how you guys built this token launcher, and how it's kind of in a sense different than a lot of the other traditional token launchers out there, right? Like Clanker isn't just a token launcher. It gives you that verifiability and like understanding, plus the social graph of Farcaster, which again is super powerful in a separate sense. But like it gives you that understanding of, okay, the things that aren't always transparent with tokens, where I'm like, I work with a lot of musicians, people that aren't super deep on the tech side and just want to leverage the tooling. It's like all of the unknown things become transparent there, and I think that's super powerful, right? And yeah, no, I definitely want to dive into that Farcaster social graph side of being able to see the creator as well, see their social history, what they're posting actually, as you're kind of coming in and choosing that as opposed to just a wallet address. Right.
Yeah, totally. Like the first versions, like we weren't storing like the cast hash on the token contract. We introduced that later, but
Okay.
for V0 in like the early versions, it was just like stored in a database, right? We would just map it. Like we were this, like not really the source, but kind of the source of truth, right? We would store that record of like who requested it when, in the form of a cast, right? And that was like kind of only possible through Farcaster there, and because they had like the connected Ethereum account, right? Like now you can do it through like on X through Privy, right? You can kind of just spin up an account for someone, and like that was like kind of the big unlock there. It's like you don't have to kind of like pre-set up an account. You can export it and then get your fees that way, but there's very little setup that you need to do. And I think that was kind of like a benefit there. And just the fact that like these tokens, like it was kind of like the rugging aspect was like if a dev like sells their tokens that they get in the fees, like but at that sure, it can be like detrimental, but it's not like a full like removal of liquidity, where it's like you can't change or exchange the token anymore. So yeah, that was kind of like it was kind of that was kind of like I think the big unlock there, and it's not like we like invented tokens, right? Super simple. We just modified it a little bit. We just made it a lot easier to do.
Yeah, I think that like as a whole, blockchain brings the friction point down for people that aren't as able to get the same resources as everyone else. And I think the really cool thing are builders that come in and build different things to help individuals leverage the tooling in a better way, in a symptomatic in a way that is in alignment, right? And I think one of the really cool things, that you've built here with the ability to have Farcaster and use that social graph is now, with blockchain, you have other people building other things on top, like your Berserker and Divify with Empire Builder and building. Now, if you have any Clanker that's out there, you can bring that Clanker and add utility to it. And it's just a net benefit to anyone who's used your protocol or your token launcher, let's say, and really leveling that up and showing that there's these upgrades that can be created in the sense of a community helping foster an ecosystem. And I think that's a really cool part of where blockchain comes in, is that interoperability. So Farcaster being the social layer, you guys have now created Clanker, and which has been bought by Farcaster, so it is now a resource that can be used with the this upcoming Clanker ecosystem fund that's coming out that Nounish Prof and Adrian are going to be stewarding, which is super exciting. It's great to hear that we had spoken actually a week ago, and we were mentioning that buybacks aren't as effective as they seemed out to be in different capacities, right? So doing something else with that resource, I think, will be really valuable to this ecosystem here. I'd love to hear like any of your thoughts on that side of things.
Yeah, totally. First, want to give a shout out to Jordan and Adrian. They are at Empire Builder. They're great. Shout out to you guys. Seriously, they've been clanking from day one. They're the best. I think the ecosystem fund would be really cool, right? Like we had kind of like Farcaster developer rewards before, which I think it wasn't gonna like, it wouldn't allow someone to go maybe full time, but it could help subsidize some of those infrastructure costs that maybe could be a burden on an independent developer that's looking for funding, right? Or maybe limited funds. I think that's the goal of the ecosystem fund, right? And also a goal is like kind of having that run independently of like myself and like the Nanar team. I think that's like a goal, right? Where we want it to be kind of like an objective, fund, right? Where people can, they can submit, whether it's proposals or, requests for funding for really anything. And I think like it's kind of just gonna be like a breathing, like a living thing. Really excited to see how they go. It turns out. I have I have the utmost respect, and I think they're gonna crush it. So yeah, Adrian and Prof are great. So I think
Hell yeah.
really
I think it'll be a great spark, right, of something here to Farcaster, where I think there's been a lot of places. For me, it's been a great opportunity in the last little bit, because there's been less users and active users as has been in the past. But I think all of the tooling has gotten better in this time, and that's my favorite kind of space to be. I came in 2023, a couple of months after the bottom of the bear, and it's just kind of a good place to be, because the tools that are available to you are better and more valuable than people are speculating on it currently, in whatever way, shape, and form you look at that. I see that as hype cycles and hype in different ways. I think that's towards AI right now, as opposed to blockchain. And so as a whole, not even decentralized social media, right? But I think that there lends to be crazy value there because if you can build on top of systems that are undervalued, then you're just in a place to benefit from that technology. So I think it's been a really fun experience over the last 3 months, 4 months. For me, seeing the Clanker get acquired by then Farcaster, and then Farcaster getting acquired by Nanar, and kind of seeing the ecosystem shift in a lot of different ways. But I think the core value and everything that's still there is that was there is still there of what's behind the scenes. So I'm really excited to see how the rest of 2026 goes, because I think with the evolution of snaps recently, which has been bringing back frames but with extra capabilities here, bringing back like one-click social features that aren't available on any other social media currently, like as a whole, like to me, the ability to kind of have programmable casts, I think is super valuable. So I'd love to know, like, your thoughts on the rest of 2026. If, behind Clanker, any of your thoughts other than the ecosystem fund, where you're going. You guys have built a lot of really cool utility into the token launcher. Is there anything you really want to attack? I know you said the pre-sale side is maybe made it a little too complicated, so that's its own challenge. Recently, there was the Team Clank, right, that you guys launched. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, if you want to share more about your vision for that. But I'd just love to know, what's in store for Jack for the rest of 2026.
Yeah, I think the goal of what I want to see, right, is like have, pave not pave the road, but like, make it so other developers, maybe independent developers or like, relatively smaller developers be able to, do kind of like the same playbook as Clanker, right, where it's building on top of these like Lego bricks, right, to kind of like build cool experiences that scale, right, and test kind of like hypotheses and yeah, really just like experiment. I think that's like the most powerful thing that we can do to like push not only the crypto industry forward, but just like in general, like technological innovations. um it's cool to see kind of like the surge in AI usage, not only for personal coding agents, but whether it's data, processing, social aspects too, right? Like little personal assistants, things like that. Like those are really fun.
Yeah, I
Especially
mean, in the last, like, this year, we've had this surge of AI agents, but like you guys created an AI agent in and of itself with Clanker on Farcaster. Earlier I was playing around with Eliza a little bit the year before. I really liked that. So like I think seeing how the like you said the new emergence of people using AI more and how that interacts with blockchain, I've always seen them as kind of intertwining technologies. And for me, like, blockchain is that verification layer for what AI can be. So I think it's really cool that you guys kind of were ahead of that trend in a sense, right? So
in a way, I feel like that's so long. I don't even think I was like using like a coding. I must have been. I think it was out like Cursor or one of those, right? But yeah, no, I think it's super cool. I think I would love to see more of those in feed experiences. I think that like we've seen a lot of cool kind of like the agentic gaming side too is like an emerging kind of vertical. I wouldn't say vertical, but a category that's really exciting. I think that like that is really like a big captivation of like just like entertainment. And I think like especially in like the hype cycle, if there's less hype right now, I think that it can be a good kind of like catalyst there, right, where it's giving people entertainment, enjoyment, kind of like bringing the fun back, where I think a lot of this can kind of get lost in like speculation, right? Like trading, I think is like it's I think it's essential, but I think also like I feel like it almost like needed kind of a reset where it was all about like what the next token is, right? I've seen like a couple like pretty sophisticated like fake projects coming through, like recently Clanker, but I'm sure it's happening on like all the other launch pads where it's like just like a vibe coded like website with kind of like even like they'll do like a white paper. It's crazy how sophisticated these are going. Like they'll even have like a fake LinkedIn profile for like their founding team to make it look
Wow.
legit. And like it's getting like just so advanced where like some of these like just token sniffers or like project due diligence projects are like or tools are so important, um which I think there's a huge room for kind of like innovation around that, right? Whether it's I think even like block explorers are so like outdated, like pasting a contract address, having to decode the bytecode, and like all of this is just like that is like the barrier to kind of like maybe not the barrier but a barrier to like more widespread adoption. So if we can make that easier for like traditional or maybe non technical people, but specifically like not people that aren't familiar with like blockchain tooling to use.
Yeah, I think that could be really interesting. That's a cool little spot in the space. I think there's a lot of people that are trying to do the agentic side of like a chat bot with the ability to like ask some blockchain questions, but I think it'll be a lot more powerful when it's just like within your normal workflow of using it. And I think that's like where, like you said, it could be. It's a really untapped space. It's a tough spot, but it'll definitely help onboard more people. So food for
For
thought.
sure. Yeah. I mean, I think it's cool. Like there's, like the X4. Oh, I might have just been
No, you're
lagging
good.
out there. Yeah, no, I think like there's like the cool like I'm also a fan of like those kind of like emerging technology primitives like in X402 or I think like XMTP too, right? Where
Hmm.
if you're kind of can kind of like build the foundation, and I think that's probably like how kind of Forecaster maybe started, but they were like client centric, which was really nice, right? Like that might be something that is could be needed, right? With instead of I don't know, or like basically like a flagship interface for an underlying protocol, right? In the Clanker's perspective, the interface flagship meaning like default fallback to, but you can also use like alternative clients, right? Is like was the chatbot. Then we had like the deploy form, but now then there was like Empire Builder, Clanker SDK, like all of these other kind of like use cases or areas to kind of like index, well both index but also like write to the contract itself. Yeah, I think like there's a big uh need for kind of like that aspect, right? You can build super cool tech, but if it's not like right in your face and like you got to kind of jump through some hoops to kind of use it, that can kind of be a fallback there. But yeah, let's see. You also, yeah. I'll pause there. I don't know. I feel like I'm just kind of rambling now.
No, no, I love it. I appreciate it. Jack, it's great to have you on chat. Is there a good place for people to reach out to you? Where's the best place for people to come say hi?
Yeah, find me on Forecaster. I'm at Dish there. On X, I'm at Jack Dishman. And yeah, hit me up. Happy to chat. Happy to help out in any way I can. And yeah, Zola, thanks for having me on. And yeah, I'm excited to maybe I'll try and make it up to your neck of the woods and you could, grab a coffee or a beer or something.
Yeah, 100%. Well, we're planning an event in October, so we'll have to have you up for that.
That's right. That's right.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
that'd be great. Perfect time to do it.
Yeah, appreciate it. It's amazing having you on. Thanks everyone for popping in and listening back, and have a great rest of your day.